New York's own Breece Hall. We only have seen 80 attempts in the NFL.
Yes.
Take out his very first game where he had an 18-yard average against a Denver Broncos team.
That Sean Payton said it was the worst run football team ever.
So you had Denver, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Miami, and Cincinnati. Two of those teams 100% controlled him. He has a grade 3 ACL tear, which means that it's separated from the bone. These are not easy to come back from. There could be a Delvin Cook signing in New York.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guys on Sports. It's me, it's Rock. We're back. Nobody's here.
Nobody else. Just us. It's your like consistent people that care about
It's complicated. I mean, I don't want to throw these guys in the bench. Are they holding out?
No, but if we like on social media, we would say it's complicated. Our relationship is complicated.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where Mark is.
Allegedly in the woods with bears.
And apparently Zach is it's his birthday and he's turning 12 because he has to go out to eat today on his birthday.
He doesn't understand how you can celebrate birthday another day.
Like most people, on the weekend of your birthday.
But you know, to be fair to him, like, you know, when I woke up when I was 12, you know, I woke up, my parents had like a special breakfast.
It was exciting.
Yeah, like a special outfit. I got to choose what I wanted to do for that day.
You did what you wanted all day.
Yeah, so I feel like maybe he's, you know, it is his age and he's like, well, it's my birthday.
It's my birthday.
Everything else has to stop.
It's his month, his birthday month. So.
I'm the sun, revolve around me, you know, like I you know. It's,
what are they doing today? Where are you going on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
Where are you going on a Tuesday? Who goes out for birthday dinner on a Tuesday?
It's not like he's going like to the clubs he likes in downtown Orlando. He's got a work day tomorrow.
What are you doing?
Got to get up.
Are you going to Ruby Tuesday?
I think he's going to find a nice salad bar.
You know? I don't know. I just think it's
weird.
The days, I think once you hit 19, 20, you have a full-time job. I think the days of you having to go out on your birthday are out the window. But I digress.
I think there's a legitimate chance.
You go Saturday. That's when you go.
Yeah. But I think there's a legitimate chance that they're not out, that he's sitting at home with, you know, his house cardigan.
Cozy up.
Yeah, cozying up with the cats.
A little pottery or maybe sipping paint at the house.
Yeah. He's probably got, you know, nice wine maybe.
I'm sure you could find like a sip and paint class on like Netflix or they got some shit and they're probably just painting like like a sunset or something.
Cat. I think it's a cat. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's probably what it is.
Tea, hot tea, you know.
It's birthday painting.
English cookies, you know.
Biscuits.
Yeah, biscuits.
Biscuits.
That's what I think.
Well,
anyways, we're here to entertain, man.
And on to more interesting things. Fantasy season is fast approaching. I hope you guys are getting ready for your drafts. I know we got a few coming up. You know, Mark has probably 60. It's probably really why he's not here.
Yeah, he's probably actually like watching a bear and doing drafts. And
camp is in full swing.
It is. Yeah, a lot of
highlights. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, football's back.
You're excited about
I'm excited about
Hyatt.
I'm excited about Hyatt. I'm excited about Waller.
Yeah.
Excited about Jones.
If you're a Browns fan, you're believing the hype about Elijah Moore.
It's the best time of the year.
You know, yeah, it is because there's hope. You know, you haven't lost a game. You haven't got smacked in the mouth yet.
You haven't got reality. Yeah. Just bring you down to your lowest.
You know what I'm excited about?
God,
I'm excited about the ultimate one, the ultimate tight end, Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham's back, huh?
Yeah, re-signed with the New Orleans Saints.
He's a coach.
37. He's 37. Didn't play last year. But
Sleeper.
He's ready, man. I think he's got that. Yeah, listen, around the goal line, I think he's he's the guy. Might catch 6-7 touchdowns.
They don't have another guy to do it. It's possible. Tony Gonzalez did it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, late round sleeper.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham. It's 2016 all over again.
Yeah, but you might win your league. Listen, we're making fun.
Yeah, I know.
But it's possible.
It is possible.
Actually it's kind of like you guys probably won't remember because you're
you won't
young.
remember.
But when George Foreman came back, he was an old man. He was like mid-40s.
Yeah.
Nobody gave him a chance. He knocked the heck out of that guy, won the heavyweight title.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, trying to think of that. What the guy's name was? I can't.
I don't remember. I remember the fight, though.
It was a good fight.
I was young, but I remember.
Yeah, it was. Hey, he got close and he got clobbered, man. So then he won it. So who knows? Maybe Jimmy Graham's got it left.
Yeah, maybe he does. And speaking of remembering, don't forget, for all your cellular and mobile needs, check out our partners, Mint Mobile. Hey, if you ever thought, why my wireless bill so high, let me tell you about Mint Mobile. We're partnering with for today's video. Now with an extra special offer for our channel, if you sign up before July 14th using our link, you can get their unlimited plan, which is normally $30 a month for just $15 a month. That's 50% savings off their already super low price.
You might already know Mint Mobile if you've seen those funny ads from Ryan Reynolds, who is also an owner.
Hey there, it's Ryan Reynolds, owner of Mint Mobile.
But let me quickly tell you how awesome their service is.
Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network?
All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning fast 5G and free mobile hotspot.
Switching to Mint is super easy thanks to their digital eSIM cards that you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your own home.
Worried your phone isn't compatible? Mint's got you. If your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card for free.
Use our link to get started or click the link in our description. Scan our QR code. It helps out our channel. Yep, Mint Mobile, man. Love those guys.
No, I do. I
love those
the
guys.
ads. I think there's a rumor that Ryan may come be part of our show.
He may come.
I hear that he is a guy who plays fantasy.
He's a little tied up with Deadpool right now, but
He's got young kids.
yeah, there's
too,
a plan. He may be coming on the show soon, but no further ado, I think it's time for us to get into our most sexual segment, and that's our fantasy breakthrough. Come on, baby. I need you this week. It's your time. Time for a breakout. Oh, that always
I'm a little bit warm inside.
that always satisfies.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe you think it's possible that Zaddy is at home playing that over and over again?
I mean, I don't know if they get that
Got it
kinky.
on loop. It's got it on loop.
I don't know if they want me, if they're inviting me into their bedroom, but
Maybe. I don't know.
it's possible. I'll never put it. These kids these days,
Yeah.
you never know.
They're into a lot
You never
of
know.
things.
All right, so what are we talking about today, Rock? You want me to say?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
'cause
do
I
want me
think
to
you're
say.
going to say it better than I
I'm
would.
going to say it better. So what we're doing is we're going to take a consensus, your consensus right now, top 30 ADP, I think between ESPN, Yahoo, and Draft Sharks. These are the top 30 guys going in drafts right now as we speak, currently. We're going to look at those, and we're going to handpick a couple guys. We might mention a few other ones, and we're going to pick the guys that we think have the lowest floors. So
Yeah.
we're not saying that these guys are going to have a bad year.
Nope.
What we're saying is we're trying to pick the guys that have the potential to have the worst year out of these top 30. So
Yeah, they're people that
basically-
we're concerned about and that
Yeah.
maybe you're going to have to spend some serious draft capital to get, and they might not live up to that capital.
They might not. Yeah. So obviously, I think any one of these guys could live up to that potential, but these are probably the biggest, in our eyes, the biggest boom or bust candidates that are in the top 30 ADP as we currently stand.
Right.
So that's basically it. And, you take it with a grain of salt, enter your drafts with it. Just know if you're taking one of these guys, where you're taking them, there's a bit of a risk, at least in our eyes. And keep this in mind with a bunch of these guys in the top 30, because everybody has risk, but we just feel like these are the ones you need to watch out for. So, Rocky, I'll let you start. I'll stop talking so much.
Yeah.
Who's your first guy?
So, this is kind of how drafts are kind of going right now. And we're looking at a few different sites, and these are like consensus averages. But you got Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Jamar Chase, Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Now, those four, I think we would agree that their floor is pretty strong.
Yeah.
And their ceiling, we know what their ceiling is.
Yes.
And we think, right, I feel comfortable if I'm drafting any of those guys that unless something dramatic happens, an injury or something out of your control, they're going to produce.
Yeah.
The person I'm concerned about is number 5.
Number 5.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp. And here's why. So I'm not debating
Kupp.
whether he's not a great receiver. I think he is.
I think he is.
But I think there's a lot to be concerned about. Number 1, he had a high ankle sprain, and they tend to linger, and his was not a normal one. He was killing it. First 10 weeks of the season, he was on pace to, I think, beat his own crazy
receptions.
Receptions. I don't think it was that close with touchdowns, but he was definitely being targeted, definitely catching. But high ankle sprains are notoriously hard to overcome. He is 30 years old, so he's not a spring chicken anymore, although I feel like he just got in the league.
Yep.
In addition, I have concerns over his quarterback.
Yeah.
He is great with Stafford if Stafford is healthy, but we don't know. That's not a given. He had pretty severe elbow situation last year. I think at the very end, they were going through quarterbacks left and right. I think they went through 3 different quarterbacks, including Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And it did affect the receivers and the running backs on their team. So I got a concern about Cooper Kupp's age, his injury, his quarterback's injury, and then finally, I think they got a pretty decent receiving core around him. Van Jefferson continues to improve. He's somebody that I'm targeting in later rounds because I think he has huge upside. And they got Puka. And Puka is setting camp on fire.
Yeah.
Looks great. Honestly, looks similar in some aspects to Cooper Kupp. And I just think that even though Cooper Kupp is good, I don't think we would deny that. To draft at 5, I think there are other people that I'd rather draft. So, for instance, at 6, Travis Kelce. Again, I feel really good about his floor. Tyreek Hill, really good about his floor. We're going to talk about some other running backs, but you got them there, CeeDee Lamb. I think I would be cautious about taking Cooper Kupp.
I want to disagree with you. I agree with you about 95%. The only pushback I'll give is Stafford looks pretty healthy right now in camp. The arm looks back
spry.
to normal. Yeah. So I don't know that I worry as much about him, but I do worry about Kupp. He's 30 years old. I mean, and before this ankle injury, before the 2 great seasons, he's a guy that I think tore an ACL.
Yeah.
He has an injury history. Not saying he's prone to it, but it's just something to keep in mind. A 30-year-old receiver coming off a high ankle sprain that was a little bit more high than normal, and
they tend to linger. Yeah.
You got a guy lighting it on fire in camp. It's just things that, does that mean Cooper Kupp's not a starting wide receiver? I don't think so. Is he are we talking about the second wide receiver off the board? I don't know about that either.
And again, like I said, I would prefer to take Kelce. I would prefer to take Tyreek Hill. I would maybe even look at Nick Chubb, A.J. Brown, Stefon Diggs. Like, I would just...
Stefon Diggs, huh?
This is Stefon.
You said Diggs.
Diggs.
I don't think you said Diggs.
I think I said
I'm sorry.
Diggs.
All right, go ahead.
Anyways, whatever we call him, I think I might be more, kind of leaning toward those other players rather than Cooper Kupp.
And with good reason. So,
so
maybe shy away from Cooper Kupp early in drafts.
Be careful, or let somebody else take that risk and,
take Travis Kelce.
I like Kelce. So.
Speaking of tight ends, we'll get to another tight end that I'm going to single out here. And we have Travis Kelce, tight end number 1 at pick 6 ADP.
Yeah.
And the next tight end coming off the board at 22 28th ranked ADP, is Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who's been, basically tight end number 2 the last 2 to 3 years. Yeah, I mean, last time we talked about stuff like this, a big point, and another thing I want to point out is when you're looking at these guys you're going to sign and draft, you want to look at situations. It's not just the player being talented. There's a lot of talented players. Situations affect them, whether it's the coaching staff, a scheme, contract situations, roster, draft picks that are coming into the fold. A lot of things can affect it, and that's what's affecting Mark Andrews to me. I still think he's a productive player. Obviously, he was productive last season. The big thing with Mark Andrews is Isaiah Likely's there. He's getting paid, and Mark Andrews is getting paid a lot of money, and they could get out of his contract at the end of this year. So
They kind of want to see what they got with Likely, probably.
is it ironclad that this is going to happen? No, it's not. But what is definitely on the table is that they want to see what they have. They might already know what they have. I mean, Likely flashed last year, and they didn't spend I think he was a 2nd or 3rd round pick, right? They didn't spend a valuable pick like that on a guy that they don't want to use. And I just think the writing's on the wall. Mark Andrews will most likely be cut at the end of this year and signed somewhere else, probably a little bit more than he's worth getting because of what he's done. And Baltimore is going to want to establish that connection with their newly minted quarterback and their tight end. He loves throwing their tight end. Isaiah Likely's flashed. He has the talent. So I think Mark Andrews' days are numbered. And as the second tight end coming off the board, I think there's better options.
Yeah, so it looks like I just fact-checked you just to make sure. I think Likely was lower than we thought. He was actually a 4th-round pick.
Okay.
But I think that, he was a 4th-round pick in a very deep tight end class. Clearly they like him. And I think that you're right. They're going to probably realize that they can get out of that contract, try to save $12 million. And I also kind of worry because this is the best receiving core that Lamar has ever had.
Yeah.
So he's got OBJ, he's got Bateman. They drafted Zay Flowers.
Yes.
Zay looks good.
Zay looks good.
We know what OBJ is. We know what Rashad is when he's healthy. Now you're splitting it with those 3 in addition to a decent couple running backs that can catch, and now 2 tight ends. So I think this is a fair. Again, Mark Andrews is going to be good, but his floor might be lower than we want.
I think if you're going to go tight end, as I said last episode, I target a guy like Waller who's tearing it up in camp. His reports they're having to sit him down just to get some other guys' balls thrown their way because he's just he looks dominant, he looks healthy. That's a guy I target. There's a few other guys that I like Chig.
Yeah,
I potentially get Chig where I'm getting him than to spend
the high draft
a top 30 pick on Mark Andrews right now. Just doesn't make sense.
Well, and especially because when you look around at where what you're able right now, Devontae Smith and Chris Olave are both coming off the board after Andrews.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And to me, that's crazy because I think that both of them are going to be, Olave's maybe more touchdown reliant, but Devontae is a target machine.
He's a target machine, and I think it's just people trying to get a good tight end while they.
Yeah. Well, that's it. They see Kelsey leave.
Yeah.
And then they start freaking out. Because the thought is, there's only a couple good. But I think, honestly...
I think we have a few that are on the come this year.
I was going to say, I think that there's probably we're probably at an age in the NFL where, I can clearly think you got Kelsey, of course, you got Andrews, you got Waller, you got Kittle.
And you got Pitts.
You got Pitts. You got TJ.
Freiermuth.
Yeah, Freiermuth. You got Njoku, who maybe has upside. I think that there's more tight ends, and then you got Dalton Kincaid that the Buffalo Bills
Dalton
just drafted.
Schultz. You still got Zach Ertz out there.
Yeah, Dallas Goedert. It's not quite as cut and dry, and I think when you're looking about the number 3 tight end to the number 8, they're all really close. You're probably talking about 1 point less per game.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think that's a good move.
All right, so who's your next young feller?
So this is probably going to be an unpopular pick. I know that right now he is everybody's darling. They liked what they saw out of him last year when he started the season. He is going around 25 to 28, somewhere around there, and that is New York's own Breece Hall. And this is, I know, going to be an unpopular pick because everybody's riding him like crazy.
Ride him like a dog.
Ride him like a dog. But this is what I know about him.
What do you know?
We only have seen 80 attempts in the NFL.
Yes.
And when you take out his very first game where he had an 18-yard average against a Denver Broncos team that was trying to figure himself out.
Well, that Sean Payton said it was the worst run football team ever.
Which, I don't know if he should have said that.
Yeah,
I think
no.
Aaron Rodgers had some issues with him saying that. But,
but he did say it.
He did say it. So you had Denver, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Miami, and Cincinnati. Two of those teams 100% controlled him.
Mm-hmm.
And the injury that he has a grade 3 ACL tear, which means that it's separated from the bone.
Mm-hmm.
These are not easy to come back from. And to draft somebody this high, I think it's risky because myself, if I'm the Jets, I'm working him in slowly. I think he's got 6 games where they're going to take it easy on him. Even if he's able to start game one, I think they're going to be very cautious with him. I think you mentioned before with other players that there's that psychological effect where
There is. They talk about it.
it's lingering and you're going to be a little bit uncertain. Can I cut with all force? I just think that like where he's being drafted with what we've seen from him, there's other players I would look at it. That's not even to begin to say that when other great running backs had this injury, only 2 rebounded and actually had better seasons the next year, and that was Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Every other running back, and there's a list of probably 10 or 12 that had this type of ACL tear, the following year was a step back, not a step forward.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, not even the least to say that there could be a Delvin Cook signing in New York.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before, and I'm going to go out on a limb even further than you and say, I don't want anything to do with Breece Hall this year, and that's not because of the talent, but it's obviously because of what you were just illustrating with the injury and how long it's going to take for him to get back. Is he a full go at the start of the season? When does he really start to look like Breece Hall again? Will it be this year?
Yeah.
Is it halfway through the season? Is it 6 games in? If it's 6 games in, that's half of your fantasy schedule.
Right.
You might be out of the playoffs already. That's 1. 2, like you said, Dalvin Cook. Hey, they're not bringing Dalvin Cook into town for no reason.
No.
Okay? They're not bringing Dalvin Cook into town because Breece Hall looks great and is starting week 1.
And that's like if they sign Delvin Cook, then I think it means that they're a little bit concerned.
Oh, they're concerned.
Yeah. And so, and then you got Michael Carter, who's a pretty good receiving back out of the backfield.
Yeah, those
too.
are depth guys. Well, I'm saying more to the implications of them bringing Cook in. And for the record, we were saying this before Cook was visiting the Jets about Breece Hall.
We were.
And yeah, the Cook thing should open your eyes. That's not nothing. Breece Hall, like I don't want nothing to do with him. I mean, if I could get him, I'm looking at Breece Hall like after round 10. If people are keen on it, like we're staying away from him because Cook got signed. Then I like Breece Hall again. Maybe I take a flyer on Breece Hall, see if he comes back and does something down the stretch.
I don't know if I go that far.
I go that far,
but I would say I think drafting him in the late or early second round is too much for me. And again, I think that there's players like Ramondre Stevenson, Najee Harris, Mark Andrews, which you mentioned, Devontae Smith, Chris Olave, that are kind of coming off the board around that same.
T. Higgins.
Yeah, Tony Pollard, Jalen Waddle. Like those same
I'd
range.
take Tony Pollard in a heartbeat over him.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's a crowded backfield. If they sign Delvin Cook, then they're going to use Delvin Cook too. Simple. Delvin Cook is not going to sign and not be used.
Well, here's my logic, and you're saying you wouldn't go that far. I'll make this very quick. It's simple. I don't want to draft a guy and deal with that all season. Is the upside...
So it's injury related.
It's injury related, but what is he going to... It's like... Especially if Cook signs, I just rather draft somebody else and not have to... I'm waiting every week. Is he questionable? What's his status? You know, and then you're questioning everything you do. Do I trade him? Do I hold him? You know, it's too much. And if you got Cook mixed in, is this a week where Cook goes off?
Well, just a week where
is he on a snap count? Like it's too much. That's why I'm saying for me, especially if he's a guy that could fall because Cook signs, then maybe I grab him later as like late in the year. Maybe he gets his legs under him. He can help me get into the playoffs. But besides that, I'm not even looking at him. I don't want the headache. It's like drafting a Patriots running back for me. Yeah, can he be good? Yeah. Is he gonna get the bulk of the carries every game? I don't know. I just don't want to deal with it.
What do you think? But then doesn't that draw a comparison? And I know you got a second guy to talk about, but doesn't that draw a comparison too? Because there's another guy that is coming off the board really high. Everybody's really super stoked about.
Who's that?
Who's also in a crowded backfield with other running backs that have done well before, and that is Bijan Robinson. Like,
yes.
The reality is Algiers wasn't just he was a great running back the last like 7-8 games of the season.
Yeah.
1,000-yard rookie, looked really good, looked to be at least a 2-down, if not a third-down back. And then you got Patterson, who Patterson had a couple 100-yard games last year.
Yeah, he did.
So do you feel that way about Bijan?
I don't feel that way.
Okay.
I think
so what's the difference?
It's the same logic, although it doesn't seem like it is. It is because Bijan, after they had Algier, they had Cotterell in the building, they still went out and spent the draft capital on him. Yeah. That means something. Yeah. And Bijan is just a difference. Like, Bijan is a difference maker.
He's a better receiver out of the backfield, probably.
He's a guy that you go draft and you start day one. Like, he's day one starter. They're not. Algier will get touches. Cotterell, I think, will go back to what he was, which is he'll get his jet sweeps.
Yeah, change of pace.
They'll work him into the return game and, you know, some gadget stuff. But it's the flip. You know, they get Dalvin Cook. That affects Brees. It says something about him. You go get Bijan. It's saying, hey, you know, if they felt that comfortable and they like those guys that much, they don't draft Bijan. They either trade out of the spot or they draft somebody else.
That's fair.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I do think that Bijan is going to be targeted quite a bit out of the backfield. He's actually been working some with the wide receivers.
I think Bijan is going to be a problem. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so from one running back, we'll go to another that you alluded to, and this is a guy near and dear to my heart. You know, I'm a biased Giants fan at times, but most of the time I try to stay unbiased. But Saquon Barkley is another guy. He's going, I think, RB2 or 3. Let me double check because I don't want to give you false information here. Yeah, he is RB3 coming off the board right now. And here's what I'm going to say about Saquon Barkley. First half of the year last year, Saquon Barkley, a year removed from his ACL, looked like Saquon Barkley again. I just want to point that out. But halfway through the year, Saquon Barkley faded, right? And it's very clear. You look at the stats in the second half of the season, the only strong outings he had were against the Minnesota Vikings, who
had a porous defense.
Trust me, everybody, let me know how porous their defense was when, you know, the Giants beat them only. But porous defense there. Indy, who had a porous defense, is 2 games that he played well in. Outside of that, I mean, he just kind of fell off a cliff. He was almost borderline unstartable unless he got a touchdown in the second half of the season. And I think part of that coincides, you know, I don't want to get too deep here, but first 2 games of the year, the Giants were pushing the ball down the field, trying to throw the ball. They lose Sterling Shepard, probably their best wideout. At the beginning of the season last year, they were starting guys off the street. They had to change their game plan to a ground and pound, and it was just really quantity over quality with Saquon. He was efficient here and there, but it was really just touches. He had the most touches of his career since his rookie season.
Yeah. And you feel like that was partly due to the recovery from the injury, maybe was kind of wearing down some?
I think he was probably wearing down some, but I also think as watching every game of the Giants, watching how that team kind of progressed, the offense changed 3 different times. It was the way it started the season. It changed to a ground and pound. Then the last quarter of the season, they started playing the quick game and the pass game, and that's where the offense opened up, and Jones was throwing the ball a lot more, and Saquon wasn't as effective.
Yeah.
And that's the team that we've seen down the stretch that won a playoff game. And they went and doubled down in the offseason and went and traded for a tight end, went and drafted a wide receiver, re-signed their wide receivers, They want to throw the ball. So Saquon will be involved, yes, but they got James Robinson. They still got Breida there. And the ball's going to get spread around a lot more than it was. Saquon Barkley was legitimately the only threat on the field at times besides Daniel Jones to make a play.
Well, and I like when James Robinson, when he first came out with Jacksonville, I loved how
he ran.
Yeah, how he ran. He ran like a man. He ran through, over. He's got enough speed, decent receiver out of the backfield. So, I don't like this whole, like the fact that Saquon signed, but signed for less than what he thinks he's worth. I think in the back of your head, you're playing for that contract. Like you're playing for that contract, and that can either make you try really hard or it can make you be cautious about injury.
Well, I think that's a factor, but if I'm like, all right, so if I were trying to stretch and make my point, I use that. I feel like we don't even have to go there. I think it's football stuff. I think they obviously they didn't go out and get these guys so they could run the ball more.
Yeah.
That's just 1 + 1 = 2. Is he going to be effective? I actually think he'll be more effective because of the personnel, but he will have less touches. I mean, he will. I mean, from about week 3 to 9, they were starting 3 wide receivers off the street.
Yeah, Richie
James.
Yeah.
Some other, I mean, I can't even.
Yeah, I'm blanking
2 guys that got sent down. Yeah,
on other teams now.
Yeah, on other teams are not in the league. One of them, so a lot of that was circumstance. And then when teams caught on with what the Giants were doing, they had to change and focusing on Barkley. It's just not going to be the same. He will be effective. Not saying if he falls a little bit, don't get him. I'm saying, why running back 3?
Yeah.
You're not getting Saquon that everybody remembers from the first half of last year. That's what is in people's heads. That's not the guy or the role that he's going to have this year.
So if you don't go him, you're more comfortable with Bijan, who's going right after him.
Yeah. I would trade Saquon right now for the chance to draft Robinson.
What about Jonathan Taylor? Now that his news has kind of like disrupted things a little bit.
Yeah, I would
be traded. So
I'd be staying away from him.
Yeah,
because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, Bijan, and then the next running back would probably be Chubb.
Yeah, and I think Chubb he's a high upside guy this year.
Yeah.
My only concern about him is, does he get injured? Like I think that they're
going to increase workload. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to work Jerome Ford in some, but I still think that they promise. In fact, Stump, his running backs coach, said he wants him to be 1,000-yard receiving.
Jerome Ford might be a sneaky pickup, though. You know why? Because if I'm a guy that's just trying to look into a crystal ball, I look at Chubb, who's a little bit older now.
27, lots of miles.
Increased workload, and in his 6th year. Maybe he gets banged up a little bit. Maybe I got his back up to start like 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a good point.
Yeah. Well, and he's last year of his contract.
That too, yeah.
So he's going to have to be. He's the last running back that actually signed a decent,
got paid. Yeah.
12.5, almost $13 million with incentives. So,
more power to him.
Yeah. So the Browns, they do right by their players.
The Browns. Is that both of our guys?
Yeah.
Did you do too?
Yes.
All right. So I did have one other guy to mention.
All right.
And that's going to be Mr. CeeDee Lamb. No bias here, I promise. But I'll make this very succinct. CeeDee Lamb, I don't think ever has really shown. I mean, he's shown talent. I don't think he's ever shown to be. I haven't seen the wide receiver one. I haven't seen that.
Chase, no.
I've seen the talent. I haven't seen the production. And I think them going to get Cooks, you could look at it both. Like, can it help him? Maybe. Can it hurt him? Maybe. And that's what makes me kind of wary to take him at wide receiver 5.
Yeah, well, and I think
I'd rather have Stephon Diggs or A.J. Brown that are being taken right after him.
Yeah, well, and I think it's not just that they went out and got Cooks. Gallup is 1 year removed or 1 year further removed from an injury, and he's a good receiver. Yeah. I like their young tight ends, whether it's Ferguson or whether it's the rookie they just drafted. I think that there's like a lot of hands to feed. Now,
mouths.
Yeah, well, mouths to feed. But now they don't have Zeke this year unless they late inning re-sign him, which there's been some gossip about. that they might, now that he's tested the market, seeing that it's not as hot as what he thought, he might come back and sign back with the Cowboys.
All right, you have anybody else?
Not really, no. I think that's it. I mean, there's other people that I would be concerned about. I think Jonathan Taylor now is something you have to look at and look at pretty hard, because I am concerned that all reports are he broke down during the running back's secret phone call. And he's upset. He's upset about the fact that running backs aren't getting paid. He's still working under his rookie contract, and he wants that big payday. And I don't think, I think what we're finding is Josh Jacobs had an all NFL season last year.
Yeah.
And it did not equate to a big signing.
No, and I tell you
Saquon
what,
looked pretty good, and it did not equate to a big signing.
Josh Jacobs looked really good last year, too.
Yeah.
I was watching some tape on him, and this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some games that he won for that team.
Yeah.
I just think it is what it is at this point.
So I think JT is going to he's going to do what he's trying to do, force a trade.
Yeah.
Or I think he might hold himself back a little bit.
I think JT is, if I'm drafting next week, I can't.
You can't draft him that high.
You're going to have to wait and see where he falls. Let somebody else, you could take the risk, but I'd wait and see if he falls a little bit. I'm not drafting him as my RB1 or 2.
Yeah, and he's coming off as like RB5.
And he's coming off an injury, too.
Yeah.
So, there's a bit more to talk about with the running back thing. Obviously the Cook thing, if he goes to New York, I think his draft value goes up.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch. Yeah. But I do think it is hampered by Carter being there, and like I said, Brees, the potential that he kind of gets his legs under him late in the season and it turns into a real committee. And the Saquon thing, like I said, I think most of these guys are devalued. A guy that
running backs is just an interesting play right now. I think that the league is, I think I read somewhere there's 20 to 22 receivers that are making $15 million plus, including receivers like Cortland Sutton, who really have had one okay season. And
but it's a premium position.
It's a premium position, but I don't know, man. You got Zeke, who hasn't signed, Cook, who hasn't signed, Kareem Hunt, who hasn't signed, like some big name running backs that are still sitting there waiting for a contract. It's just surprising what has happened to the NFL quarterback. And if you're a running back, running back, do you think about changing
maybe.
Well, the issue is most of them would switch to linebacker, who is another underpaid position.
I think it's going to start happening at the high school level.
Yeah, you're going to start seeing them switch to receiver, maybe a tight end.
Cornerback,
yeah. Which I think long term may really change the landscape of running backs in the NFL.
Yeah, I think it'll be, Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think about. It's crazy to look at RB8 being Derrick Henry right now.
Yeah. He's going to have a good year. I just feel that. First of all, I think Tennessee is going to be better than people think. I like their coach. They're always in games.
Yes.
They
had a down year last year, but
they had a lot of injuries, so too.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay.
Yeah.
I like Tannehill.
I mean, at the end of the year, grabbed a quarterback that was third string on the Browns and had him start a playoff game. End of the year game and a playoff game. I mean, think about it. It's insane. They had a lot of injuries. So
yeah, they did. All right. Well, that is the show. So listen, August, we have a bunch of stuff coming up. Got interview guests on each show. We're going to touch on all the divisions and give you a fantasy outlook finally before we get into the season. Please, if you like us, if you love us, if you listen to us on anywhere you find podcasts, you can watch us here on YouTube. We also have the videos on Spotify. Anywhere you do your social media happenings, you can find us at GON Podcast. Please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Comment. Let us know what you think. Any questions you have, we're here for it. Also, I want to remind you, Chalkboard. Link is in our social bio. It's a great app if you want to get some advice on your fantasy team, a trade, your roster. If you want some picks during the season against the spread. If you want to just talk some ball, all that's there. on our page. Please use the link. We get a little bit of money for it, which is great. It helps us keep going, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it.
Yep. Catered. We will cater to you like a 5-star restaurant.
Like a 5-star restaurant. All right. Love you.
All right. Peace.